Oh, Kate, have you looked at the news lately?
Yeah.
Pretty depressing, if I say so myself. We crossed over 200,000 people dying from COVID, and I'm just kind of struggling too with this continued quarantining stuff.
Yes. It'd be nice to get back to normal.
Yeah, it's horrible. And then I just start thinking about all the worries of the world. You got global warming, and you've got wars in all sorts of places, and I'm just worried about my family sometimes, and just they're working too hard. And
hi guys.
Pastor John.
Sounds like you are really sighing and groaning.
Yeah.
About all sorts of things. Groaning just about the world?
Well, just even personal stuff too. It's just feeling I don't even know what to pray for myself or for anyone. It's just rough right now.
I know that I'm going to take the sweater off this week because it is warm out here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's global warming. I think it's just a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Weather.
Beautiful day for our neighbors to gather together.
Uh-huh.
But sometimes we do feel as though we're just kind of figuring out the struggles inside of us and the struggles outside of us, mm-hmm. and wondering whether we actually do fit in all this.
And where God is in all of it.
You know, I think Paul may have a word for us today. We're up to Romans 8.
Yes, we are.
And in fact, boy, we're spending a lot of time in Romans 8, which is beautiful. And we're up to the 18th verse. So maybe we should tackle some of this.
I hope it can help reframe what we were just talking about.
Well, let's try that.
It's rough.
Okay?
It's rough.
Well, actually, look at that first verse. Okay, go ahead, Kate.
All right. I consider that our present suffering are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. The creation waits in eager expectation for the Son of God to be revealed. For the creation was subjected to frustration, not by its own choice, but by the will of the one who subjected it, in hope that creation itself will be liberated from its bondage to decay and brought into the glorious freedom of the children of God.
Boy, here it sounds like Paul is joining with you in looking at all of the crises that are happening, but he's talking about the Roman Empire. But it just seems to continue on, doesn't it, that our present sufferings should be compared to what God is going to do. But in order for God to do that, it sounds like God isn't just going to come in and, you do the bang on the table.
Therefore,
okay?
there now is no condemnation.
There we go. Yeah.
So there's we know that there's no condemnation,
but there's still struggle.
It's like we're just waiting in that suffering.
Yeah.
In that struggle.
And in fact, there's a part where God is intentionally letting some of that frustration continue to happen. You know, can you remember back to your childhood, to some times that your parents may have subjected you to something, maybe not wanting to on their part, but they did it for a reason. Can you remember any times that you were subjected to something?
Kate, it looks like you got one.
Yeah.
Being sent to my room.
You were sent to your room, okay.
Kate did bad things?
Kate, I thought you were always just obedient. Okay.
I'm too stubborn.
You were too stubborn? Okay. And Micah, do you remember?
Yeah, when my siblings and I would get into arguments and fights, or even over stupid things, we had to go sit in the chairs, and we had to stay there until we figured out how we could actually fix our problem and keep being brothers and sisters and living together.
But you had to fix your problem rather than the parent types fixing the problem for you. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember being subjected to the torture of having to play my clarinet in front of an audience, and my parents just pushed me to go ahead and do it, even though I was scared, I was afraid, and I was afraid I was going to squeak on my clarinet, whatever, Why did the parent types do that? Well, actually, when I came out of that experience, it gave me my first chance to see how I could interact with an audience, how I could stand on my own skill set.
It sounds a lot like what Paul's talking about how creation itself, God wants to set it free from the bondage of decay, from just staying put, not learning, not growing.
He wants all of us to grow in this and be part of a partnership of this redemption.
Almost like what we were talking about last week with freed into a sense of responsibility.
Well, look at the next verse. He says, too, it's going to happen kind of like a childbirth, which means a patient time. Kate, do you want to continue on? 22 through, we'll stop here.
We know that the whole creation has been groaning, as in the pains of childbirth, right up to the present time. Not only so, but we ourselves who have the first fruit of the Spirit groan inwardly, as we wait eagerly for adoption as sons, the redemption of our bodies. There's that word again, adoption.
That's right. That's right. We're adopted, and we're adopted to share in the groaning with God over this whole creation. That God wants, He wants us to experience it.
Yeah. It's maybe we can read a couple more verses, because that reminds me of kind of how I was feeling right now. For in hope we were saved. Now hope that is seen isn't hope. For who hopes for what is seen? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. And I think we talked about, it's in the Greek, it's almost more like perseverance.
Yeah, it's more perseverance. Patience does not mean sit back and just wait for it to happen. Patience actually means to endure. You know, we endure this with an anticipation that somehow God is going to bring all this together.
Yeah.
And that somehow we're going to learn something in the process. It's a redemption process.
It's kind of, it's like how I was feeling with, I feel like I'm stuck in that suffering. I don't even know what to ask for, what to pray. I don't have words.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And in fact, you may find yourself groaning along with God over all of this. It's almost like God is groaning too. Sometimes I wonder if He's groaning for creation or if He's groaning for Micah and Kate and John. You know,
well, we're part of creation.
That we're part of that too. So I wonder if God is actually going to be able to be with us in all this, or are we on our own?
What do you think, Kate?
I don't think we're alone.
You don't think we're alone? Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you read those next verses?
26, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way, the Spirit helps us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groans that words cannot express. And He who searches our hearts knows the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints in accordance with God's will.
That's great. Okay. There's so much promise in there, but it's not promise that we're necessarily wanting. It's promise, though, to help us with it. His first thing says that that the Spirit comes to us at our strongest moment.
In our weakness.
In our weakness. The Spirit is already there in our weakness. And then the Spirit uses words. Groans. And in fact, our joke is that the Spirit speaks in sigh language. Okay. The Spirit even understands the sighs that we have. And does the Spirit just pray what we want?
No, what God wants.
Okay, that's what the word intercession. The Spirit has to kind of deal with a bargaining, a tension between what we want, what God wants. And the Spirit is maybe sometimes groaning, oh, God wants this for Micah, Kate, and John, and creation, you know. And other times the Spirit is groaning, creation wants this from God. It needs this. The Spirit is caught in that groaning language between us. Oh, God bless the Spirit. You know?
Yeah, so gotta connect us and the world to God, and God to us, and the world to God, and man,
Sounds like a circle.
it is kind of, it's
Sounds like something very repetitive, you know?
yeah, actually it actually reminds me of a song that I like to listen to. I listened to growing up, and then also still do sometimes, that talks about how The Spirit intercedes for
For
us.
us, with sighs too deep.
For words to express.
Oh,
The Spirit intercedes for us with sighs too deep for words to express. Oh, the Spirit intercedes for us with sighs too deep for words to express. Oh, the Spirit intercedes for us with sighs too deep for words to express. Oh, the Spirit intercedes for us with sighs too deep for words to express. Oh, the Spirit intercedes for us with sighs